Hello and welcome to the Property Unleashed podcast with me, Mark Fitzgerald. So today I'm joined by a special guest, Huw Davis, who became financially independent in 2016. He built a six-figure business from scratch, a stocks and shares portfolio, which he could live from, and a 1 million property portfolio in less than 18 months. Now, that's a hell of an achievement. He started a YouTube business focused on his passions, which are finance, fun, and philosophy. His aim is to become financially free, or to help you, his aim is to help you become financially free whilst putting a smile on your face. What isn't there to like about this? Welcome to the show, Huw. It's great to have you on.
Thanks for having me, Mark. Yeah, this is, as you said before we went live, this has been a long time coming. So I'm glad that you've been patient enough to wait for me to sort my internet out and to finally be here and have this chat. So yeah, really looking forward to it.
No, it's great. And thank you for coming on as well, because I know you have a wealth of knowledge. And if you're not following Huw on social media, and we'll put some links to this, you need to be following him, because the posts and the videos and everything that he puts out, it does educate you, but it is so entertaining as well. I mean, I absolutely love it. So Huw, can you just tell, listeners that haven't heard of you before a bit about yourself, please?
Yeah, well, I suppose, again, I'm not going to swear because I don't know whether I can naturally do that, but I'll try not to. But I wasn't probably someone that lived to their potential in their 20s. Let's put it that way. And I kind of wasted it. Went drinking for the weekend, living for the weekend, put on weight. I was dealing with some anxiety issues. I led from the outside what would probably be seen as quite a decent life, but within myself, I knew I was far capable of far more. And I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know what career to go into. I was a sales manager. I had a good job, but I've been lost for years and was getting a little bit kind of disenfranchised with life. And I came across the FIRE community, which stands for Financial Independence Retire Early, which is all about really living on as little as possible, making as much as you can, and then investing the difference into assets which cover your living expenses. So you can retire, become financially independent, and you can do it actually very quickly. So I thought, I'm going to set myself a goal to achieve that by the time I'm 40. And I started when I was 30. And I thought that's something I could really get behind and get excited about. And that really just started the wheels in motion for investing in stocks and shares, and learned very quickly. There's only so far that you can reduce expenses by before I need to focus on increasing income. So I started dabbling with some businesses and went into an area of publishing, which is my main cash flow business. And then that drastically sped up the process to me investing more, which covered my living expenses. I then got into property, and I've started another business, which is more of a passion project, which is trying to help other people become financially independent. Because here's the key takeaway for me, Mark, is that financial independence is it gave me something to focus on when I didn't know what to focus on. So if you're a little bit lost with life and you don't know what to do, well, if you've got enough money coming in to cover your living expenses, it frees you up to do whatever the hell you want. So if you want to travel, you want to be the best dad in the world, you want to focus on your hobby, whatever that is, or gardening or whatever, becoming financially independent can do that. So I feel so strongly about it that I want to help other people achieve that. So really, that's what I'm now currently living for.
Brilliant. And that's your driving focus. I know from the content and everything that you put out, and you're a man that sets himself some good goals. I always say good goals because they're big goals, aren't they? You like to stretch yourself and you like to push yourself to the limits. And, at the end of the day, you're a man after my own heart, because that's what it's all about. Yeah. Stretch yourself, massive goals. And if you only get halfway, hell, you'll have achieved something really, really good. So, I mean, if before we go forward, let's just go back a little bit. You were saying you're a bit lost in things, and really your driving focus was to become financially free and independent. What did you find that you had to cut back on then in those early days, when you took it back to, so to speak, back to the bare bones?
Well, I was reading a summary of The Richest Man in Babylon, and it was highlighting that to become wealthy, you should aim to save 10 to 30% of your wage. And I counted mine up for the year, and that came out at 38%. And I was like, I am a savings god, brought down here with the mere mortals of earth to show them how I properly save. I thought I was unbelievable. And I then found the FIRE community not long into that, because I was just Googling, looking into this stuff. and worked out there were people saving 50% of their wage, 70, and even over 80% of their wage. I was like, what? That's impossible. Like, how can you even do that? And read into the ways they were living, and it was a case of they were selling their car, walking or biking to work, and making packed lunches. They wouldn't buy any clothes. They wouldn't go on holiday. They would just live like quite extreme lives and made a game of it. So initially I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to kind of cut back to that level. I like my car, I like my Sky TV, I like all these things, but I really gamified it, and just to try and see how cheaply I could live. So at the time we had a mortgage, it was probably about 120k, I think, at the time. We lived in Herefordshire, which is probably at the time slightly below average for the kind of UK housing prices. But we still had a mortgage, and I was able to live on less than 10 grand in a year. So that was my goal. But cutting back, Mark, was a case of I didn't need to cut back on anything, but I sold my car, got rid of Sky TV, didn't buy any new clothes, didn't have any fun, didn't go on holidays, nothing like that. And I kind of liked it. It was just like rough, like how far can I scrape this? And I really got into it and enjoyed it, but realized like 800 quid a month I could live on. 700 was just, I couldn't do anything, you know? So I realized that there's only so far I can push this down, but the income is, you know, limitless. So that's where I need to then kind of shift my focus after that.
Wow, that's quite extreme, though, isn't it? If you take it back to that extent and everything, and you did that for 10 years.
No, I did. So I live frugally. I mean, to a degree, people still think I am. People still think I'm really tight and will say that. I mean, I don't think I am, but I'll tell you exactly what I spend right now. So we have a mortgage, and we spend. Well, I'll say what I spend. I spend £1,400. That is what I need to spend to cover everything, and I could cut that way back. Okay, and then I have £600 a month spending money, which I make myself spend because I'm now trying to live less frugally. So I live on less than 2 grand. I could live on 1,400, and I could cut that down to probably 1,200, something like that, 1,000, without really being too impacted. If that gives you an idea. So I've been living frugally or that way for 10 years, but extremely, I lived for a few years, and I quickly kind of got out of that or loosened it up a little bit.
But I suppose by doing that for a couple of years, it speeded up your results, doesn't it, of getting yourself where you want to get to? And I think that's what a lot of people can miss is if you actually put the time in, you know, now, it doesn't have to be forever. It just to get yourself, you know, get that foot in the door on the ladder, so to speak, to get yourself going up in the right direction. But that is cool. And did you have a partner doing it with you, or were they, you know, did you have to get anybody else on board for this?
Yeah, so that's a great point, because my other half is from Sweden. She's from the middle of Sweden, which is classed as up north, okay? Which is that they will have 24 hours of daylight and like only a few hours of sunlight in the like extremes of the year. So she's grown up living very frugally. She was the frugal one here. Like we would have maybe quarter of an onion left over, and there'd be maybe 3 green beans, and she would kind of put them into a pot to save to use tomorrow. When I would normally just chuck it in the bin, you know, well, I didn't finish it. She'd be like, no, we'll save that. We'll use it tomorrow. So I kind of living with her, adopted some of the frugal ways, but then, as I tend to do, when you said it's quite extreme, I'm just quite an extreme person. I took it to like, you know, I pushed it to see how far I could go and took it on to another level. Lou still lives frugally. She always will. She lives on less than me. So I think for a lot of people, they say, oh, what about winning over my other half? Like I understand what you're saying. I want to do it, but my other half doesn't. Well, you can't really persuade anyone to do something they don't want to do. And I say lead by example, like be the change you want to see in the world. So if you want to live like that, live like that, share the experiences you're getting, good and bad, and then they may or may not choose to kind of join you on that. I was fortunate enough that my other half kind of led the way on that side. So we were able to join forces quite quickly.
No, that is good. That is good. And quickly, another point that you touched on there is like your £600 that you force yourself to spend. And a lot of people will be like, oh, I'd love to have £600, but it does work. I've done this to myself as well. I have a different card that I use, and some of my my wage each month goes onto that card, and I can just do whatever I want with that. And that's a game changer, isn't it?
There's part of my budgeting that I kind of help people with if I'm coaching them. It's what I call the drugs, alcohol, and hooker money. Really, it's money you can do whatever you want. It's guilt-free spending. So whatever that percentage is, the 5%, 10%, 20%, whatever you decide it to be, it goes onto that card, and there's zero justification. You spend on that whatever the hell you want, and it's a really important component of budgeting because you need that. I lived on 50 quid a month for that spending for years. So people that find that strange. I even know someone, right, that lived on £1 a week, like 52 quid for the year. That was their guilt-free. That's how much they drove this down. So I know people can go on the extremes, but it's important to have that. I think people can get caught in the guilt of buying things, and I definitely did. And I at some point had to move away from frugality because it was costing me value. Because remember, it's not what something costs, it's what value you get off the back of it. And a lot of us can get caught solely on cost where they're not trying to see what you're getting off the other end. As an example, we've both been on Simon Zucchi's mastermind program. That's a £20,000 property course. Okay. So the cost, when I tell people that blows their mind. Like, how could you could just go and do it and save that money for a deposit. Yeah, you could. Or I could expedite the process, build £1 million portfolio in 18 months, which was what I did. So the cost was high, but the value was far higher. So I would recommend everyone do that because I had that experience and I was willing to put the work in. So yeah, I think you can get, when you go down frugal living is a great way to start, but it's level one. You need to move on and look to increase income because there's far more potential there, and try not to get caught into this how much does it cost to be mindset, and to, as you rightly said, allow yourself an allocation to go and have fun and do whatever the hell you want with it.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, invest in yourself. I always say it. I say it all the time. I'm like a broken record, but it is the minute I got out of my own way and actually understood that if I spend money to learn and find out how to do things a little bit easier and more cost effectively and actually make more money, my world's opened up. My world has completely opened up. So, I always recommend to people, do follow people who are doing what you want, because they've taken the actions to do so. And they're probably pieced it together, or they're following somebody as well and doing the same sort of thing. And, nothing's ever really reinvented to a point. There are certain things, obviously, but most things are just the steps. Just follow these right steps. These are the steps that will get you there, as long as you're prepared to put the work and the effort in. And that's great. So as you started down this sort of frugal route, which was a couple of years, and then you started, obviously, was it what was next for you then? Was it the stock portfolio, or was it property, or what was it?
Well, when I was living frugally, at that point, I'd started investing because I got out of debt in my late 20s, and I now had money. So I was like, right, okay, now I've got this, maybe I can't even remember. It might have been £400 a month I had free. So right now, I'm not paying my debt. I actually got savings. So I was like, what should I do? And I kind of understood that probably cash wasn't a good place to do that. Like, I should be investing. I heard people doing it, and I just went down that path. So I started index investing. Was it 2011, 2012? So just over 10 years ago now. And I was just growing that up without really too much of an end goal, feeling like I should be doing that. And whilst looking into frugality and coming across the FIRE community, I understood that, I could become financially dependent whilst living off my investment income. So I just tried to live as cheaply as I could. I had my guilt-free 50 quid a month that was set, lived as cheaply as I could. Then anything else, whether I had bonuses, commission, that would just go into investing more into stocks, which would create more income for me, which would mean I could retire earlier. So that was the kind of goal behind it. So stocks was the first thing that kind of started that. And the kind of general advice I'd give for that, people saying, should I start there? What about property? Which one's the best one to do? Stocks are real easy. I could sit down with someone for an hour and tell you how to go from 0 to 80, 90% of the way there within an hour, genuinely, and you can get on with your life. It's passive. You can just move on and focus on other areas. Property, you're not doing that in an hour. It takes a lot of time. The returns are far greater. There's a lot more added benefits to property, but you have to put the time in to kind of learn and understand it. So it's not binary decision. You can do both, and I recommend people do both. But stocks is a great way to get up and running in investing if you've never done it before. So yeah, I've been doing that for about 10 years, and property since learning about it 2019. It took about 18 months to 2 years to learn about property to actually pull the trigger and get my first investment.
And when it comes, obviously, that's brilliant advice as well. But when it comes to the property investing and things, was that just because you were thinking, I want to speed this up, or like you say, I want to have different streams of sort of income coming through at the back end?
Both, please. Yeah. So I actually went to a networking event to learn about property, and I could see that people that would talk about property would speak so passionately and say how amazing it was. So I went to a networking event. I just said, this is who I am. I've got my own business. I work I'm basically free. I work in stocks and shares. I want to get into property, but I've got no idea what I'm doing. And this guy said, do you want to go for coffee? And we can kind of maybe share numbers and help each other, because I'm interested in internet businesses as well as investing in stocks. I was like, yeah, perfect. So went for coffee. And he just he opened up his book and showed me a deal with an almost no money down deal. So he put in something like, it was like 23 grand. And after refinancing, he pulled out everything apart from 3 grand. And it was making multiple hundreds of pounds a month on top of that. So I was like, wait a minute. There's something wrong here, because you've only got like 3 grand in that, but you're making hundreds of pounds a month. And I was like, got my calculator out and I was like, what's the ROI on that? And I was like, that's massive. I was like, that's not. He's like, yeah, this is what, this is property. And I could just remember thinking, like, I cannot unsee that now. You have forced my hand. I now have to do property whether I want to or not, because of how good that is. So that really got the wheels in motion for me to start learning about property and going down that path.
No, nice. And you've got some quite good projects, have you not?
Well, I think so. Yeah. I mean, look, it's not for everyone, but because of the circumstances that we're in, it works for us. So I came into the mastermind program when I started with property with a good lump sum of money, and I was but with zero knowledge pretty much. So no single lets or anything. No, I'm not very handy at all. So really, I am looking to leverage someone that kind of understood what they're doing. I'll then pay my way for that. And we've gone into commercial and residential. So we purchased 2 pubs. The first one we bought in cash and converted that into 5 flats. Then the second one we bought and for cash again, and then converted that into 7 pubs. Those 2 are up and running. The third one was a massive old furniture store, an old retail unit, and we're converting that now into 8 flats with 3 commercial units. That should be ready in the next 2 months. And we just purchased a bank, which we're going to convert the upstairs into 8 flats with the downstairs as 1 commercial unit.
Okay, so pretty much all flats then. That's really good as well. I think that's safe. That's future-proofing, isn't it? That's future-proofing for you. Less tape, less everything. And of course, you don't have to worry so much about, massive turnarounds and things, do you, of tenants and stuff like that. A lot of people, of course, looking at HMOs, looking at service to come, very, very noisy. Good cash flow, but very, very noisy businesses. Obviously, flats in your own portfolio, in your own investments is a very smart way of doing things. And I mean, obviously, when did you start to think to yourself then that I want to now, help people and start showing people that, this can be done, that it's not just for a select few. If you actually follow these actions and follow these pathways, then, this can help you. And I know, I want to talk about the YouTube channel because you set yourself out a big target on that. I'm not sure where have you got to on that?
It's I'm at just over 8,000 subs, and I put it out there to the world that I will be getting 1 million. So yeah. I've got a long way to go. I've got a long way to go. But that's what I'm not here to do things that are easy. I'm trying to do things that I could be really proud of and to see what I'm capable of. And I may not do it, and that's fine. And I won't lose any sleep off not doing it, but I'll lose sleep off not trying. So we'll see what we can do. But your initial question was, at what point do you decide to kind of think you want to give back and do that? No, I'll be honest with you. I'm not like speaking here as some altruistic person that just loves giving back into the world. I selfishly feel good for helping people. That's why I do it. Okay, so I'm not not trying to dodge around that. I am obsessed with optimizing in all forms of life, wealth, health, happiness. I just love seeing how I can grow and get better. That's something I always like doing. And I get a kick of being around other people. And if I can help influence them to grow as well, it's like a drug to me. So that's what I'm doing. I used to do sales coaching. I used to be a manager. I used to have a lot of involvement with people. And then doing my own business, working solely for myself in this office, made me realize that I kind of missed that. And I probably wasn't getting the best out of myself because I wasn't around people. Property, inadvertently, Mark, I didn't go into it for this, but it's a people business, right? As we know. And I kind of, it caught something in me, and I was like, I need to be around people. I know that I'm best when I'm as part of a team and around other people. And I spent a lot of time focusing on what I want to do. And it was, I did a video on this, and it was the Element by Sir Ken Robinson, a book which is awesome, which is about trying to find the thing that you're meant to be doing, which is the element. And it's a blend of your strengths and your passions, and the crossover there is the element, and to try and find something that you can monetize within that. So I wrote a list of all the things that I felt like I could become world class. I wasn't world class now, but that I could become world class. I then wrote down all the things that I really love to do, and I was thinking, I've been told I'm a really strong communicator, so I'd say that as a strength, not a passion. But I love figures, numbers, working out in finances. So I was like, okay, I could do public speak. Oh, I don't know if I want to be driving around doing that. I was like going around the houses. I had loads of different ideas. And one of which was, well, if I did YouTube, then I could just speak in front of a camera. I wouldn't have to be in front of a massive audience. I could use my communication skills and then share what I like to do. And also I could be a bit silly because I don't like corporate like stuffiness. Like I'm really opposed to that. So I like to be a little bit silly, tongue in cheek, not to take myself too seriously. So it just ticked a lot of boxes for me. So I thought, okay, I don't know if this is for me. I'm going to give it a go. And as per normal, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to go all in. So I invested heavily in equipment, went on training courses, set myself a massive target, which I've shared with everyone, and we'll just see what happens.
That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So go out there and do what makes you feel good, what you're happy about, what you're passionate about. And that is, I mean, that's living the dream. At the end of the day, you know, people can say, oh, you know, I want millions and millions of pounds. I want this, I want that. You've got to find what you're passionate. And this is one of the things I try and help people with a little bit myself, is to say, you've got to have a passion for it. Yes, there's always an end goal, but if you're driven by it, then you won't fail because you'll keep going. You might have to tweak things, but you can keep going. You know, you can keep looking at different ways of doing things. But the gist of it is we only fail when we stop. So find what you're passionate about. And I think, you know, there's a lot of people out there that want to do something just because they want the money. And I always say that's a risky game to play, because at some point something might happen, or you're going to get bored because you're not passionate about it. It'll fizzle out. Now, that's not too bad if it's a means to an end and you've got a bigger picture, but you know yourself, don't you? At the end of the day, if you haven't got a passion for it, you're not going to do it.
Yeah, like you're spot on. Like, okay, where I only disagree is the last point. Okay, because I went into publishing online because I wanted to make money. Like, it wasn't like a desperate. Like, I hated writing. I'm not a good writer. I'm a numbers guy, so it wasn't a strength of mine. But I hired people to do all that for me. I did it solely for the money. I'll be really straight with you. That was my goal, to become financially independent quicker. I still did it because I've got a level of determination and drive and commitment, and I was all in on it. But here's the key difference, is that the people that are passionate about doing it will do it at such a higher level than I will. They'll get more money and it will be more enjoyable, and they'll do it for longer. I think success, a large part of it is endurance. So the more that you enjoy doing something, which is like repeated efforts and consistency, the better you will become. So if you force yourself to do something for money and you don't really enjoy it, the chances are you're probably not good at it, and you're competing with people that do. So you're always going to be up against it. Now, the people are really up against it again with me when it comes to YouTube, because I just want to help, and I don't do it for the money. So there are people that need to take their little slice off the top. Well, I need to get my 20%, my 50%. I don't care about that. So I've always got that extra 20 to 50% I could chuck straight back in and help other people and add more value. So they've got a real big challenge come up against me because of that. So look, I don't think there's anything wrong with, you know, pimping yourself out and doing something for finances if you have an idea of what you want to get to, which could be that financial independence, to have your passion project at the end of it. So, but just understand that you're always going to be up against it. And if you can find something you're passionate about and you're strong at and make money, then you're really onto a winner, because you can do it forever.
Yeah, definitely. So if you lost everything now, God forbid, but if you lost everything now, what would you, maybe a better question actually is, for somebody starting out right here and now,
Yeah.
what would be your recommendations? You know what I mean? If you had to start from scratch, what would you look at yourself?
Yeah, it's a really easy decision for me. So, Mark, I want to put this back to you and see what your answer is. But for me, it's 100% about business. It's not property. It's not stocks. It's about, you have to invest. You either have to utilize your skills and experience today. So if I had my same mindset, I know what I'm good at, and I could just double down into that immediately. If you don't have that, you need to save and scrape to get some money to then invest into training, into something that you're interested in. Either way, you've got to double down into business, because it's limitless growth. You could earn billions of pounds a month potentially. That's what's preventing us. And the reason that I don't do that now is because of me. It's not because of, it's not possible. It's because I'm not providing enough value right now. So it would be all about how I can best put value out into the world, harness my strengths and weaknesses, my strengths and my passions, to give back and solve people's problems. So I could have 100 careers. I have too many ideas. I have too many things that I want to run with, and that's part of my problem that's holding me back, is because I have my fingers in too many pies, when it'd be better just to focus and double down in one. So that'd be another part of my advice as well, is not try and do 3 or 5 things. Choose one and be the best possible version you can be. And it would be business. But how about you? Would you agree or disagree with any of that?
No, I would actually now, here and now, agree wholeheartedly with that, because I always say the same thing. If I lost everything now, I actually think I could get myself relatively back into a good position within about 6 months through the knowledge that I already have, and probably even quicker at the end of the day,
I think
because
so.
you know exactly the actions to take. Now, if you're starting out and you don't know the actions to take, that's where we say, go and learn how to take those actions, or go and follow those steps. And that's what I would do. So potentially, if I didn't know what I was going to do, and I was still in my corporate job, and I was still hating life at the end of the day, well, there anyway, I used to like my home life. I like to get that in. But at the end of the day, yeah, I would spend the 20 grand all over again, because if I know, you know, spending 20 grand can make me over £100,000 a year, you'd do it every day, wouldn't you? You know, if you say
No
to somebody, spend a few grand and you can double it within a certain time frame, so to speak, you've got to do the work. You would do. It's an investment anybody would make. But my biggest thing is people are afraid to invest, and I was, because this is how I think, are afraid to invest in themselves because they're not sure. They don't back themselves. And I think that's one of the things is, a lot of people say, I've not got the confidence that you've got. You have. Everybody's got the confidence. And I mean, we all do wealth dynamics, don't we? And it says you're a blaze, you're a creator, you're a steel. Listen, we're everything. But there's certain things that we prefer to do. When I first did a wealth dynamics, and it's like a square thing, and it's got, you know, I'm all blaze, so I'm all front end star. That's why I do this podcast and everything. But I was very much a box in the middle. I was blaze, but I was a box in the middle. And that's because in my corporate world, I had to wear all the hats. But I've subsequently done that test again. I did it last year, and it's all blaze now. There's because I have a team now that do the back end, so to speak. I don't have to wear all those hats. I have to know things, but I don't have to spend all my time doing them. So we can adapt and we can change. And that's the same with confidence levels and things like that. But knowledge is power. Knowledge will give you confidence. It will give you the confidence to take the actions that you need to take to move yourself forward.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love that. I did. Have you ever done Belbin, the team working exercise, team building exercise?
No, I've heard of it. I've never done it.
Somewhat similar to wealth dynamics. We did it in our sales team, and I just want to highlight this. So I was part of like helping run the session, and we all had to fill in these bits, and then we're given the results, and then sharing our results, so we could all understand how different we are and how we can use each other's strengths to benefit. And you're not right and they're wrong. It's just that they've got a different way of doing things, and it's trying to understand each other, right? So it's just, you know, makes common sense. Great exercise. I was the only one in the entire office, entire room. Okay, they give you a list of how strong you are in a certain area, like creativity, right? And you have a score. And then, like everything, you can have a vice of deficiency and a vice of excess. You can have too much of something. You can be too creative. I could be courageous, and then I could be too courageous and put my life on the line. Well, I had 0 positive for creativity, and I had a tail, like I had a score for negativity. Every single person in that room had at least a low scoring in the areas they weren't very good at. I was the only person in the entire room that had a 0 score for anything, and that was creativity. Now I create videos and write and create content for a living. So I just want to make the point that I had the limiting belief at the time that I was the most uncreative person ever. People say, I don't bother wasting time on creating stuff with me. I just follow what works. And I've kind of proven that you can learn anything, including creativity. So I just wanted to kind of really underscore that point you made, because I firsthand have gone through evidence kind of counter to that. The second point you were saying, what was that? Because you've got the wealth dynamics. What else are you saying there, Mark? Oh, I had another point to go on to.
Well, it's like recreating yourself. At the end of the day, don't stereotype yourself. I mean, you've covered that one there, but it is a case of really trying to get out of your own way and just back yourself. Was another thing.
Yeah, it was backing yourself. So I don't understand what drives some people and doesn't drive others. And I wouldn't worry about confidence. What I would say is just understand what it is that you want, like where you're at and what do you want. And if there's a difference between that, go and get that. Like, and it can take time, and that's fine. And it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy, but you can get that. So it's just okay. If anyone is unhappy about anything in life, is a relationship, health, wealth, whatever, focus on what it is that you want to get to. And the easiest path to do that is find someone doing that and then model their steps. It's as simple as that. It can take time and it won't be easy, but you can literally become anything that you want to be. As long as it doesn't defy the laws of physics, we can achieve anything.
Yeah. And I think Oh, getting a bit heavy here, but it also comes down to like almost an alter ego in a good sense, that the person you are right now, if you go off, you do some training, you get some knowledge, you can even read good books, you expand your mindset. All of a sudden, you've almost step into another alter ego of yourself. The old me now is gone and dead and gone. At the end of the day, there is a new version of me, and I'm hoping in the next year or a couple of years there'll be another version of me. Do you know what I mean? And that's how we grow and how we progress. You know, as soon as we're born, we're always growing. But we also, when I finished school, when I finished college, I never grew anymore. I never read books, never did anything. And that was where it all stopped. And that's where we see so many other people doing the same thing. And it took me a long time to get out, as I say, out of my own way to do so. But I'm always looking at trying to be the next good version of myself. And I think if you go with that attitude, and I can see you are as well, which is why I love chatting to you, because it is about trying to improve, trying to be the best version of you can be. And we're all lazy. We all procrastinate. There's nobody out there that doesn't have the same doubts, worries, and feelings that you have. You can have multiple millions in the bank, or you can have nothing in the bank. You're still going to get scared at things. You're still going to have problems, and you're still going to need to get over things. But that's where I also think that the knowledge and the communities surrounding yourself with the right mentality and the right type of people can also help to drive you and push you forward, can it?
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely loving everything you're saying there, Mark. I don't know if I'm going to say the guy's name right. I think it's Torben Shahir. I think he's a professor or a teacher at one of the main universities in America, and he had this wonderful saying, which is all about kind of progressing and perfection, because some people can get caught in perfectionism. It's just about trying to close the gap between who you are and who you're capable of being. And you'll never fully get there, but it's in the pursuit where all the growth comes from. It's knowing it's not being perfect. It's just trying to close the gap. And he used this analogy as a guiding star rather than a distant shore. So as opposed to a distant shore where we arrive to, I'm suddenly here now, everything is fine, I have no worries. It's just a guiding star, and you head in that direction, and you will feel good as a result. You'll never attain it, and that's fine. You're not supposed to. You're just supposed to head in that direction. And this kind of brings me back to my point and why we connect and get on, because we both understand the benefit from trying to get yourself out of your comfort zone and trying to improve. It is all about the journey. And generally, like when I first earned 10 grand a month through my online business, that was a big goal for me. That's such a massive milestone. I've been fortunate enough to earn almost 3 times that amount of money on a monthly basis. And I'm telling you, it wasn't as good. And people are like, well, what do you mean? It's 3 times. I'm telling you, it's not only is it not 3 times as good, it wasn't as good as that, because I hit a milestone, and the journey, I knew what I got to. But actually now looking back, that chase towards getting to 10K, which was a long-term goal of mine, was amazing. And I didn't really appreciate it. I just wanted to get there. Then you're there and you're like, oh, okay. And now everything else wasn't quite as good. So take time to enjoy that journey. That is really where all the richness of life belongs.
Do you know what? I couldn't agree more myself. I say this to people now. I say this to students as well. I say like 2019 is where I started my property business, my own business. Always wanted my own business. I had a business, didn't have any money coming in or anything. Obviously, as you grow it and progress. But I slogged away, hammer and tong, for 12 months, created, doubled my income, created a rent-to-rent business, happy as Larry and everything like that. And I look back now and wish I'd enjoyed it more. Wish that I'd taken time to savor it, because once I'd made my wage back through my own business, and my business still managed itself as well. So it's not just like all the money I'm making, I'm paying myself. I'm actually paying myself my current salary, which I was getting. All of a sudden, that was that moment for me. And that was like, oh, I've done it. Now I create and I earn a lot more. And it never feels as good. You're always sort of chasing it, thinking, well, why am I not even happier now? Because it doesn't work like that. It's that challenge, it's that chase. And that is, you've just hit the nail on the head brilliantly. And it is, enjoy the journey. And I like Akash's book from R&T Fitness, where he says checkpoints. Just look at things as checkpoints. There is no, he does health and fitness. So it's about losing weight and getting yourself, fit and healthy and everything. And it's all about, a lot of the time we fall off the wagon because we reach what we think is a destination or a perfect weight. And then we put all the weight back on because we don't continue to the next checkpoint and the next checkpoint and enjoy the journey of it, do we? Everybody's too quick to try and want to get there, aren't they?
Yeah, but ourselves included. We're human.
Yeah.
That's what it is. You just realize, and you look at all the old texts and the Stoic philosophy, and it is about the journey and not the destination. And most of us will probably just have to live through that to understand it. And now I can do something that I just truly enjoy, and I'm just trying to enjoy the journey as much as I like. Yes, I still get caught into the whole games of, oh, I wish I was here, get to 10K, then 100K followers, then get to this. But it's just, I just have to keep reminding myself. But now I've lived through it, so it's a little bit easier for me to listen. But I still get caught up in those little games at times. I just have to try and remind myself.
But I think if you can keep it as a game, because I'm the same. It's nice when you get more subscribers, or we have a really good week on the podcast and stuff like that, and we've got X amount of listeners and things, and it's just like, oh yeah, we've achieved. And then the next week it's down, and I just think, well, there's peaks and troughs at the end of the day. But it is a game. Treat life as to a point. There's sometimes you need to be serious and everything, but take it with a pinch of salt. Treat things as a game, and you will enjoy them a hell of a lot more, because any problems that you've got right here and now, you may not even be thinking about next week. They might be that life and death at the end of the day, right here and now. But I always do that now and just think, well, in a week's time, I'm not even going to be worried about this. We'll have solved the problem and we'll have moved on. So, but it does take time to build up that mindset and to build up those sort of beliefs in what you're doing as well, doesn't it?
I think that's worth pointing out. People go ask me like how I think the way I do, and I'm grateful for the fact that I went through quite debilitating forms of anxiety and panic attacks. And at my worst, I was so afraid to leave the house because I was this confident macho man, and no one could see me vulnerable. And I was scared of having a panic attack and being on my own. So I was afraid to post a letter, which was literally 50 meters away from my home. And I realized, I've got a problem. Like, I need to sort this out. This was in my 20s. It started. Another sad story as well. My dad came down to visit me and went away. And I called my dad in my mid to late 20s. I can't remember how old I was, and asked him to come back because I was on my own and I was alone and I didn't want to be left with my thoughts. I didn't know how to handle it. So I called my dad, and my dad stopped with me because I was unable to, be in a house of my own. And I share that because I had difficulty. I was trying to hide all of that, and it made it worse. But when I realized that this isn't life and I need to really start kind of taking care of myself, it also demonstrates to people like you can go from that to where I am now as well. And I think it's so important to talk about these things and to know what's possible. And I started learning about psychology, learning about self-help and how the mind works and how I can look after myself more. And slowly I started to make those incremental change. And it's never like anything. It's not a straight line, right? I kind of got better, then I came back down, then got a bit better, come back down. And then people say kind of 10 years later, 12 years, 15 years later, how are you the way you are? It's just a long road to travel. Like these things don't happen overnight. And it certainly didn't for me, but I went from a very dark position from a couple of really dark years to being able to be right now a very happy, fulfilled person. People would say I'm very positive and upbeat, and I wasn't always like that.
No, that's really good. And thank you for sharing that as well, because I think, can you, as you were doing this, as you were getting the mindset and everything, if you don't mind sharing, did you
Not
start to be able to notice, oh, hang on a minute, I'm starting to go, into that place again? Did you start to, almost get the warning signs for yourself? Because sometimes we can get engulfed in a bit of depression or get down and things like that. Obviously, with your anxiety and stuff like that, were there certain triggers that you thought, oh, hang on a minute, if I go and do this now, I can try and make sure that doesn't happen?
Yeah. So for me, first of all, I have no problem. I like talking about it because I think it's important that everyone knows about it. And that actually, when you talk about it, you own it as a part, opposed to the other way around. So yes, absolutely. I knew what triggers were, and how I got into a bad state was I listened to them. So I would see myself and feel myself building up, and I would avoid that situation so I wouldn't go down that path. And that gave me a crux. And then I needed to avoid that thing. And then something less severe would come up. And then that would be a problem. So I'd avoid that. And then something less severe. And then before you know it, I'm stuck in the house and I don't want to leave, because I don't want anyone to see me. So what I learned through the whole process, which is really difficult to hear, and I was fighting it, but it's the truth, was you just need to face it. You need to face it and be like, F you, anxiety, whatever. I have a panic attack in front of a million people. I don't care. That's the thing right now. If it happened now, I wouldn't care. It would, like when it happened before and people saw me, I was devastated. And I always suffered more with anxiety than I did with depression. But the depression only ever came in because I was anxious. It was like as a cast off. I never had bad depression. I just had really high levels of anxiety that was debilitating. So once I learned that actually, here's the key mindset, which there's nothing new, but it you know, pays to, you know, it's more important to be reminded than it is to be taught. And that is, courage isn't you know, never feeling fear. It's feeling fear and acting in the face of it. And really, that was what helped turn me around. So feeling low, depressed, or whatever, actually facing up to those things in my life, which were really difficult to do, were the stepping stones I needed to kind of continually push back and push back. And then you get strength off the back of that. And you realize, actually, I'm going to see what else I can do. And you kind of push it up a notch, push yourself a little bit more, and you can do that. And obviously, then it's limitless. You keep kind of climbing that ladder. And I always know that I can do that now. So if I have bad moments, because I'm a human being and these things happen, I know what I need to do to get myself in the right position. So I've got a good self-care routine. I know if I, again, just to kind of share this for those, if this even helps one person, it's been worthwhile. But, you know, have I slept well? Am I eating well? Am I drinking too much alcohol? Am I drinking too much coffee? Am I exercising? Am I being out in nature? Am I socializing? So normally, if I'm in a bad state, there's one or two things that are like, you know, red flags here. I only have 4 hours of sleep. Okay, then if I have a good night's sleep tonight, that'll probably fix most of my issues. Or I drank alcohol, okay, then I'll have a spell off alcohol or dial it back, and that might be enough for me to kind of move on. So yeah, it was a long case of learning. I'm definitely not perfect. I'm not claiming to be, but I've now gone from, again, quite a desperate position to now it doesn't affect me, you know, it doesn't run my life in whatever way, but it held me down and judged everything that I did on a daily basis. It doesn't have a grip over me now.
Oh, it's good to hear. It's good to hear, and thank you for that as well. I mean, I've never had it to that case, so I can only sort of imagine, you know, what people go through, and even worse as well. But I mean, myself, I never really recognized the triggers of when you're just getting down, when you're getting annoyed, and I do now. I almost, when I'm thinking of something, maybe something's happened, and you think to yourself, "Oh God damn it, why's that happened?" And I'm almost, you know, you start to get a bit upset about it, or something's really annoyed you. I tend to talk to myself. I start having an argument, and all of a sudden, if it involves somebody, that person's all of a sudden in my head, and I'm arguing with them. They're going to say this, I'm going to say that, and that is when I know I'm tired, because I don't normally. I will just let it go. So that is normally, like you say, that it's a trigger for me to think, hang on, Mark. It might be late on in the day, or like you say, maybe I haven't slept well or something like that, because normally I just pick up the phone, speak to that person, get it solved and sorted. But all of a sudden, I've decided to have an argument in my own head that will probably never even happen, because we'll probably talk and solve it anyway. But all of a sudden, you can start to I can now see how I used to put myself into a bit of a darker place in my corporate job, when I was managing teams of 80 odd people and things, because you're always like overthinking things at the end of the day. So now I just switch off, or maybe put some music on, or go for a walk, or take the dog out and do something nice, and just think today's done. You know, my day at the end of the day, unless there's anything major that needs sorting out, I'm just going to take a break. If it happens at 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm stuffed, don't I? But it's normally in the afternoon. I get up quite early, so it's normally in the afternoon or late afternoon when I just think, no, need a rest. Early night tonight, and we'll solve this problem and get it out of the way. And like you say, it's about taking those actions, because the things that we put off, it's never normally as bad as we think it's going to be, is it?
No, I just there's so many things I could pick up on everything you said there. I absolutely love it, Mark. I couldn't agree more. But yeah, it's with your last point, which is a really interesting point, because I'm writing about this now on my publishing video. It kind of comes down to literally starting is 90% of everything. Yeah. The procrastination I feel on a daily basis of writing is so strong. And I'll be transparent with you now. I didn't do any script writing today. I was supposed to do up to 3 hours a day. I didn't do any today, and I feel terrible for it. And I know tomorrow is going to be even harder, because I went a day without it, and it will just fester in my mind. It will make it easier not to do that. But as soon as I sit down, I feel resistance. I won't want to do it. I'll be making up, I need to do washing. I need to do anything but write. As soon as I sit down, within literally minutes, it's like, this is fun. So it's like, it's getting your backside down in the chair. Or if working out's never been a problem for me, I always enjoyed it, but it's just walk through the gym door. That is the win. And then you're on your way. So yeah, starting is, I think if you could just fix the starting issue, there probably wouldn't be many issues with anything, whether it's a difficult conversation, working out, or business.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I could talk to you about this all day long, because I absolutely love it, because it's almost in itself, it's stuff that should be taught. I believe it should be taught at an early age as well, you know, to be able to control our minds, our brains, because they will run off with us. But it's still something that's neglected out there in schools and even colleges and things like that, actually, to help people and set them up. And it's probably worse. I mean, I sound like my granddad now, or my dad. It's probably worse now than it's ever been with social media, with the devices that we've all got and everything, because you can be constantly bombarded with, you know, not feeling good enough, with negativity, if you allow it. So, you know, I always say, you know, as much as anything, use stuff to suit your needs for your business and things like that, but don't obviously be a consumer of everything and negative news that's out there and things like that. So I'm conscious of your time, always, my good friend, but I do like to ask a few questions as well, more because I'm interested in the answers than anything else. So is that okay with you?
Of course it is.
So,
Yeah.
what's the best advice you've been given?
Oh, yeah. There's just so much. I actually think there are four cardinal values from Stoic philosophy. It's wisdom, roughly translated as wisdom, which is the knowledge of something; self-mastery, which is discipline; courage, which is self-evident; and then love. And I feel out of all of those, courage is probably the most important thing. And Socrates believed this to be true as well. If you just invest in nothing else from this podcast or anything in your life more than just courage, which is not about acting fearlessly, it's acting despite feeling fear. That is true courage. So it's feeling fear and doing it anyway. So the best advice I could say to anyone is just, you feel a little bit uncomfortable about something, just do it. And see how you feel off the back of doing that.
Yeah, it's brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. I mean, I just talking from my own thing, when you are a little bit scared or nervous, you know, even if, you know, you're standing up in front of people and you feel the nerves. I used to get scared of the nerves and used to think, oh, I don't like feeling it. And now I embrace it because I know I'm alive. You know, this means a lot to me. I'm going to enjoy myself. So bring on those nerves and stuff like that, because you'll soon get over those as you start taking the action. So, but courage is everything. And anybody can learn to be courageous and can learn to have courage. If you think now that you haven't, you know, you're not a courageous person, you haven't got courage to be able to go out there and do those deals or talk to those people or just start something, you have, but you need to start doing the daily disciplines and practicing being courageous. So start small and work your way up. I would say as well.
Yeah. Can I just add to that very briefly that, like, I couldn't agree with you more. And people are concerned about how they feel as opposed to the very simple solution to it, which is reps. That's all it is. So I've got so much evidence of being petrified and scared of doing certain things. And the way to overcome that is to do it so many times, the repetition, that it no longer bothers you. And just know that you can actually combat any fear off the back of repetition and knowledge and experience.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. I'll shut up on that one. That was great. Brilliant. Thank you. If you didn't do what you do now and you had to work a 9-to-5 job, but you could choose whichever one you wanted to do, what would you do?
Oh, God. I mean, the thought of working for someone else now is just, that's really difficult. I think it would be something I'm so passionate about, like someone doing something that I'm doing, like maybe working for a famous YouTuber, like helping get my strengths of analysis, project management, dealing with people, dealing with teams and people. I'd have to be something that had such a big mission. Like Alex Hormozi, someone that is an amazing content creator on sales and marketing. He's in the States, but I would find someone locally to me that I could get behind that's doing content creation, which is exciting, and just help them in whatever way I can. I just couldn't do a standard 9-to-5. It's done for me now.
No. Oh, Dan Hill said he'd be a DJ.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Is that 9-to-5 though? Well, I suppose
I suppose at night you've still got to do the job, haven't you?
Yeah, true.
I had to let him off. If you could sit around a dinner table with 3 people, alive or dead, who would you like to sit around and pick their brains and have dinner with?
God, these type of questions, these quick fires are so hard for me because I love thinking about things. I'm an overthinker. So the 3 people that I would love to, my sporting hero growing up was Michael Jordan, and watching The Last Dance just I would just love to pick his brains. Who else? The 2 people I really like at the moment are Alex Hormozi and Naval Ravikant. So they're 2 very different people. I think Hormozi's the go-getter. If I need to like a rocket on my backside, like I want to listen to him, let's go, let's rip this up. And Naval helps me to realize that it's better to work smarter than harder. So it's whatever as I need. If I need a rocket on my backside, if I just need to calm down and take a moment, it'd be listening to those two. And those two are great intelligent thinkers and have great opinions about pretty much everything. So I think my sporting hero, maybe those two, that would be my answer for now.
Brilliant. Love it. Love it. Michael Jordan's one of mine as well, just because the mindset and everything. And The Last Dance is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. If you haven't seen it, it's on Amazing. Netflix, I do believe. Do you listen to any podcasts? If you do, what are your top 3?
My First Million as a business podcast, I think that is outstanding. 2 very successful business people that kind of share their best practices, and it's 2 mates chatting, so make it very easy to listen to. I'm a long-term fan of Joe Rogan and Tim Ferriss for multiple reasons. They just have loads of wide-ranging guests on there, all talking about all different types of things. And for when I'm feeling a little bit silly, I listen to Your Mum's House or 2 Bears in One Cave with Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer, just to totally switch off and tap into my silliness.
Nice. Like it. And do you have a top 3 books you'd recommend?
You're killing me, Mark. You're kidding. I want to have
all right, this is the last one. This is the last one. I know top 3. I always say narrow it down a bit. I could do a top 30.
Yeah, I mean, exactly, right? It's so difficult. So the Obstacle is the Way is one that keeps coming back for me for Ryan Holiday. It's a book just there because it is all about overcoming obstacles. And as a human being, we face obstacles. This book isn't about getting you through that obstacle. It's about using that obstacle to your advantage, making it not only like it's bad that I had panic attacks. No, that was actually a strength in my life because I can now help other people. And I come at it from a different frame of mind. I've become stronger mentally because I had these panic attacks. So it helps you kind of turn your weaknesses into a strength. So the message behind that book, I think, is absolutely fantastic. Go through the daily, anything kind of daily stoic or stoic related, is fantastic. So as you can tell, I'm a big fan of Ryan Holiday. I also think one of my books here, this is a big book. This cost me like 60 quid, which for a book is ridiculous, right? It's the Almanac. It's Poor Charlie's Almanac, which is basically the work of Charlie Munger, who's Warren Buffett's right-hand man. As far as distilling wisdom, you could just flip this anywhere and get an absolute gem. It's a magnificent book, and not everyone talks about that, but that'd be right up there as well.
Yeah, I'm writing that one down. I've not seen that one before. I like him.
I'm a book fiend, like the finance books, 4-Hour Work Week, the Almanac of Naval, I think are right up there, as well as I would recommend the book, not the audio book of The Millionaire Fast Lane. I find the guy's voice quite irritating because he did a self-narration, but the actual work that he puts into creating a business and becoming wealthy, there's some really great stuff in there as well. Psychology of Money. Yeah, I could go on all day.
Brilliant. Well, we'll maybe doing another podcast on books. But no, that's great. That's great. So I understand as well that you've got some opportunities to work with your good self coming up.
Yeah, so actually, I think we were saying before that this will be going out the following week. So last week, when you're listening or watching this, I put out some coaching slots. It's something I've been working with someone I've been coaching for many years recently, and I just absolutely love it. I'm not doing it financially because, to be honest, financially, it'd be better off me not coaching and focusing on my YouTube business. But I just love the connection and working with people and trying to help them grow. Again, selfish because I like it. So there are a few coaching spots that I'm putting out there. I don't know if they'll be taken. Hopefully they will be taken. But in any case, you can reach out to me at huwsview.com. That's HUWSVIEW.com. I'm at Huw's View on all the socials. So reach out, DM me, say if you've listened to this podcast, what you liked about it, what you didn't, give me any feedback. And if you have any questions, fire them my way and I'll do my best to help you with them.
Absolutely brilliant. And if you are not following this man on social media, you are missing a trick. It always makes me smile because not only do I learn, but he makes me laugh as well. So go and support his YouTube channel as well. And let's get him to 1 million subs. So, like it, share it, subscribe to it, do everything we can. And let's say that we were a part of Huw's, Huw's YouTube channel hitting 1 million, because that's hugely exciting and something to be. So I just wanted to say from my own perspective, thank you ever so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on, my friend.
Right back at you. I've really enjoyed this call. I think we probably got another 2, 3, 4 hours left to go. Like, we could go on forever, but I really appreciate the time and the opportunity. And yeah, thanks again, Mark.
Well, one thing I always like to say to guests, particularly when I like them, is please come back. Please come back at some point, and we'll do this all again when I can, grab you away and yeah, let's schedule something in.
100%. Let's do it.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. So, everybody, or guys and girls, or wherever you're listening or watching this, I hope you have enjoyed this episode. Please feel free to like, subscribe, share, leave a comment, and let us know if you've enjoyed this episode. It's always a pleasure to be talking to you all and bringing these podcasts and YouTube videos to your good self. Remember to keep focusing on that vision, chasing those goals, and I'll see you on the next episode. Bye for now.